Hello and welcome to the Super Rugby Review Show, where we're going to have a chat about all of the Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU action. It was the final round of Super Rugby AU's regular season before they hit the preliminary final next weekend, followed by the final. For us over here in New Zealand, we had the Super Rugby Aotearoa penultimate round, but it definitely it did a lot to tell us who was going to be making the final over here. Joining me to talk about all of this kind of stuff is Ashwin, who is still quickly looking at highlights to try and catch up on some of the games. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm not doing too badly, but yes, as our other guest and myself were commenting about how unprofessional the host is, because he's going to turn, he can't find his hat and he's not organised. Come on, game on.
Well, no, I think the hat's in the car. I've just realised. So because I was at the Chiefs Women's media event today. So the interviews from that I'll be putting up later on our Facebook page over New Zealand Sports Radio. So do go check that out. And Stephen Harris, you've been putting a few videos up onto the old New Zealand Sports Radio Facebook page as well, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Had a great day out at the Waratahs Rugby Club yesterday, although as a Waratahs Old Boys, the final score 43-10 was a little bit hard to take. But hey, listen, overall a great day.
Yep. No, whilst you were out there, I was at. I've gone and forgot what it was now.
Rewa.
Manurewa. That's it. That's what I'm looking for.
Rewa hard, man. Rewa hard.
Absolutely, it was, and we did have some. I was in the sheds, so I did get to listen to the Rewa winning song, the club song, and also caught the ladies singing their winning song as well. So a good day for Rewa. Peaking with their Prem ladies and Prem men both winning, and then I'm pretty sure they had a fantastic gala dinner last night, followed by the old boys playing today. But yes, they didn't give me a free ticket for the gala dinner, Stephen. I think that was poor form on their part.
Poor form.
And look, Jezza said he was going to give me a jersey. Can you see the jersey behind me? No, you can't. He didn't send me. He didn't give me that jersey. So might have to get Jezza back on the Driving More show and ask him what's going on, what happened to the jersey. But anyway,
they don't. I don't know if they're probably too small, Paul. They don't have your.
You fit two Pauls in a jersey.
Yeah, I know. Maybe you have to approach the junior club captain at Manurua.
Under fives.
Oh, I did do an interview with their director of rugby. And there were 15 junior teams there. Wow. So
and you still couldn't get a jersey.
And they still couldn't get a jersey. Oh dear, disgraceful. Good evening, everyone who's in the live chat. Great to see you there. Hi, evening, Jordan. And don't forget, you can type your comments in there and let us know your thoughts on the games as well. So 4 games to go through this weekend. We kicked off on Friday evening with the Chiefs versus the Hurricanes. The Chiefs looking for the win here to put them in pole position as far as finals rugby was concerned. And boy, oh boy, they gave it a cracking game, didn't they? Didn't help themselves by going behind early on as Geordie ran the ball back, and then early on, the Hurricanes were finding some good gaps in the middle of the Chiefs' defence with their big boys, weren't they?
Yeah, I think like we commented on after the game there, Steve, it's sort of like really the Hurricanes they took some poor options. They scored that first early try, then they took poor options after that because there was easy 3 in front of the post. Dane Cole's taking a quick tap and then firing a wide pass 5 meters out for the line. Now, as we commented on Friday night on a well-hosted show, that basically when you're 5 meters away from the opposition, you don't want to throw a wide pass because all that does is give the time for the defense to run up and tackle the guy. So, yeah, I think the Hurricanes really let themselves down where they had some dominance and really didn't take advantage of those opportunities early doors.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, Ashwin. As previously stated on that award-winning show on Friday night, I'd have to agree with you. There was an opportunity. They still needed to keep. You've got to take your 3 points, your opportunities. I don't know. For some reason, to me, the tone of the weekend seems to be about taking your opportunities.
Opportunities.
I think if the Hurricanes will look back, they started so hot, and then they made another break. There was another opportunity, and listen, I just think there was an opportunity to send it out to 10-0.
10.
Let the Chiefs second guess themselves a wee bit and get back down in the territory, because we all know what it's like when you start getting behind on the scoreboard. I wouldn't say a panic sets in, but a little bit.
No, but the thing is that, they started so hot, the Hurricanes. They started red hot. And so, if they'd taken the 3, there was really good chances, high percentage chances that because of the roll they were on and the momentum that they had, they would have been back up that end of the field pretty quickly.
Whereas they didn't go posts, which is in that one, and then the Chiefs had a real dominant period. They created a whole bunch of clean breaks, and they weren't taking their chances either. They dominated the show. Dominated that half. Would have been. But for those of you listening to the podcast, they're laughing at the comments in the live chat there. To me, the Chiefs made lots of breaks, made lots of ground, but just weren't able to get over the line and get the scores.
That was sort of interesting, because once the Hurricanes came off the boil, that's exactly what happened. Really, the fact that it just felt like the Chiefs had that game, especially in that first half, but they didn't convert their opportunities either.
And I think at 10-all at half time, the Chiefs would be the more upset of the two teams.
Oh, hugely. They really did dominate that first half after the first 10.
I'll tell you what, guys, I think just we've spoken about Duplessis Karifi and what a great competitor he is, but gee, there were times he gave away some really, really silly penalties, and that theme just seemed to continue throughout the game. And when you give away easy penalties, you give a team like the Chiefs a little bit of ball and a bit of momentum, you know what sort of damage they can cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about it. I can't remember whether it was during our chat that we have during the game or whether it was afterwards, but really, Karifi, just a penalty machine, really. And he is a fantastic player. Let's he can win turnovers. He's really good at the turnover when he does it legally, as well. But the reality is that he just just gives away far too many penalties.
And that was one of the big differences in these series, is that the Chiefs, every time they were given an opportunity to kick 3, they kicked 3. They never went to the corner, whereas the Hurricanes kept on going to the corner, and they ended up losing by 2. You got to say that just purely take your breeze, and the Canes would have won this. And but no, that wasn't going to be the style. It came out in the second half, and the Chiefs took control of this. It looked like they're taking control of it, shall I say, getting the early 3 points, putting on a try, opening up a 10-point lead. And you were thinking, in a game that only had 20 points in the first half, a 10-point lead was going to be decisive. Only for them to come back, which I was a bit surprised at.
Paul, interestingly enough, I thought one area where the Chiefs, especially in that second quarter of the first half, where they were getting on top, was at scrum time. They were starting to put the Hurricanes on under a lot of pressure, especially on Xavier Numia's side of the scrum. And then you also had Dane Coles, who was hobbling in that first, I think we mentioned about that first 10, 15 minutes or so. So that must have been putting some added pressure on the scrum as well. And listen, it didn't get any better as the night progressed.
That wasn't an injury to Dane Coles. That's a swagger, man.
But I will actually say, guys, isn't it funny when you're getting when you're getting the bounce of the ball going your way? What pretty much emphasised it for me was a Samasoni Takiaho line out, which basically goes straight over the back line. Full fair play to Bryn Gatlin. He comes through.
Good anticipation.
And then basically fly hits it ahead, and then it bounces straight into his arms, which gives them the opportunity to eventually nail the try. Himself finished off, and I thought to myself, man, here's a team that weren't getting all the luck in the first 2 games, and then they're getting their share of luck as they're on this bounce.
Yeah,
Look,
he rebounded because Gatland had a shocking opening 5 minutes. It was his exit that got wrong. He then kicks the ball out on the full at the restart, and you're thinking, oh dear.
There was a knock on in there too.
Yeah, and he just had a shocking opening, and you're thinking, oh boy. But no, he came back and had a good game after that, which is good mental fortitude.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, I mean, we talk about taking those opportunities and everything, and bounce of the ball. You sort of said with the luck with Bryn Gatland, when it's going your way, it's going your way. There's a tweet from Steve Hale that he put out, and the captain's review that the Hurricanes did for the clean out on Ruben Love, and it's just like, this is but look, Lucky Boa's not here, but it's just like how a TMO can get a review wrong is beyond me, because that is a clean out of a ruck, and I think it's Tupou Vaya that is doing the clean out, does not maintain his feet. You have to maintain your feet when you're doing a clean out. He tackles Ruben. You can see Ruben Love can see the hits coming. He starts back. He actually takes steps backwards because he sees he's going to get cleaned out. And then he gets tackled around the feet. The call is wrong by the officials, because the officials say, oh, he was making a tackle. It's just like, no, it was a ruck. So therefore he's cleaning out. So therefore he has to maintain his feet. So the captain's challenge was correct, and the officials got it wrong.
Well, yes and no.
No, they got it wrong because it's a clean out.
Hang on, let's just put it first up here.
I want to listen to you. Don't oppress me.
So, right, we'll just mute Ashwin from that. And look, so basically, look, the captain can only challenge if for dangerous sort of foul play. Now, was it dangerous or foul? Was it kind of a dangerous thing? I don't think it was. Now, did he go off his feet? Absolutely, sure. From that point of view, the call was wrong. But from what the captain's allowed to challenge and them to look at from a captain's challenger point of view, I don't think it was dangerous or bad.
Oh no, it's okay. If that's the case, then it's still a dangerous tackle, because basically he's dived in. He's dived in at the ruck. He loses his feet. He's dived in. That's dangerous play, because you look at Ruben Love. If he doesn't take those steps backwards, his legs are getting chopped. Chopped tackles are illegal. So it's illegal on the fact that it's a chopped tackle. It's illegal on the fact that he's doing a clean out where he doesn't maintain his feet. So I'm sorry, I'm still going to maintain my stance. The officials got it wrong on a captain's challenge, and they've got replays and time to review that. They're the ones that are supposed to know the law book, and that is a ruck. That's an illegal clean out, and he's diving in. It's dangerous play. Oh, that's why a clean out where you leave your feet is penalised, because it's dangerous play.
Well, no, it's also
sealing off.
It's also sealing off the ball and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and just having a pile of bodies lying on the ground isn't conducive to the ball coming out. Let's be honest. I know I can't remember the incident in the detail you can, but I remember at the time I thought it was a poor captain's challenge that they were going to lose. From
no,
but I forgot it. Anyway.
No.
I must admit, watching it live the first time, I just thought he dived in
off his feet,
gone straight off his feet, and that's what I saw from the naked eye straight away. So I kind of wasn't surprised when they went back and reviewed it. Like Ashwin, I was a little bit surprised there wasn't even at least a penalty.
A penalty,
that could have been a changing point.
Yep.
But as Nocturnal Right says, you ride your luck, and you absolutely do on these things. And
that's where we talk about the bounce, the rub of the green, getting that's at the moment. That is the difference in winning these games at the moment.
Yep. What was I going to say? The penalties in that second half. You say that the Hurricanes killed themselves 0-4 after like 57 minutes, and that the penalty count just at key times rather than overall. I think overall they had the same number of penalties, but as we said, the Hurricanes, when they were given opportunities for points, didn't take them, but the Chiefs did in that one. So overall, look, here's a Chiefs team that just that's basically getting to the stage where it doesn't know how to lose. Right? They've got go on.
Massive. Like, no, your point is massive because it's about a lot of it comes down to knowing how to win, or just getting used to winning, and it just happens. It just starts to happen. So I think and we'll talk about this a bit later. There's certain things where I think the Chiefs are actually one of the stronger teams in the competition in that element of the game, and I'll leave it to later to discuss it. But I think they're they get through next week, and it's by no means, even though they're coming up a team that's struggling next week, it's not a guaranteed win. There's still a slight chance that they might not make it to the final, but they make it to the final, they're going to be very competitive, very competitive.
No, they make it to the final. The Blues cannot beat them now.
Oh, right, okay.
So the Blues.
Is that a points differential thing?
Nope. It's so apparently the tiebreaker isn't points differential. It is number of wins, and the Chiefs have got two more wins than the Blues. So if the Blues, even if they
only have one more win, if they beat them next week, they'd only have one more win. Yep, okay.
But they'll still have more wins. Yeah.
So that's why they can rest a few players next week and put them in cotton wool.
Yes, if they want to. Whereas the Crusaders will have all their players in cotton wool because they've got to buy. Isn't that
how convenient?
Convenient that they get that for the second year running, their buys are perfectly aligned for winning the competition. There we go.
Oh no, it's just coincidence.
Just absolutely. As Simon Hughes says, in other words, the Chiefs did not listen to just Justin Marshall, and they're doing well. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Justin Marshall. Oh yes, you don't beat these teams by kicking threes. Sorry, Justin, you do. Absolutely, you do. So yes, the final has been decided. It will be down in Christchurch, and it will be Crusaders versus Chiefs for that one. So look, 4 wins now. I think all of their wins have been by something like by maximum like 3 points or 2 points across all of them, across all their wins. So they've had one game where they've actually scored more tries than the opposition, and that was against the Hurricanes. All their other games, they've actually scored equal or less tries, even though they've managed to beat. Even though on 4 or 5 game winning streak now, a 5-game winning streak. Even though they're scoring the same or less tries. And you say, Ashwin, it's about knowing how you win, and that is that's kicking your threes and letting scoreboard pressure and keeping yourself in front. So yes, that's it really. For that one, I mean, they forget it. Any other points on that? Just, I guess the only other points I'll say, folks, is that the post-match interviews with the captains and coaches, I will be putting up on my New Zealand Sports Radio Facebook page. I'll put them on straight after this. So
I just want to highlight a couple of guys that I thought played really well, and I wish I'd seen him earlier in the year. And that was Devin Flanders. I thought Flanders was very good. Off the back of the scrum. Of course, it's probably easy to think if Artie was available, Flanders probably wouldn't be in the starting lineup, more or less coming off the bench. And I thought Asafa or Moore was good value when he came off the bench. Although I will say with Moore, I just wonder, because he's not a big hooker. We all know he's a very powerful hooker, but I just wonder if you kind of give up something at scrum time when he's on the paddock. I think Dane Cole's probably the better scrummaging hooker, and just a shame for the Hurricanes that it just came down to one scrum at the end. And the other thing I just want to say is, I want to see the Hurricanes winger with a little bit of ball, Rayasi, because what he does in limited space is pretty unbelievable. Anyway, but boy, somebody put this guy into space so we can really see him one-on-one and what he can do.
That's why I said, like, going back a couple of weeks, I just couldn't believe when the Hurricanes basically put Xavier and Hussein on, and Rayasi wasn't even on the bench. It's just like absolute head scratcher. You think after 2 years of leaving Rayasi on the sidelines that they would have learned, but obviously not. And then, as I said, he shows up every time, because it's not just his aerial work. It's what he can do with, as you say, the ball in hand, but his work rate's actually really high as well. He gets involved.
Yeah. And it's real irony that so Ian Foster's got 3 very good fullbacks, and we'll get to the third one very, very shortly. But you got D-Mac playing out of his skin. Geordie Barrett is playing out of his skin and is just an absolute weapon, especially off the tee from long distance as well. And I just like his physicality at the moment. God, when he brings the ball back, he brings it back really hard, and it takes 2 or 3 guys to stop him, and he always presents the ball really well. But he can also stand a player up as well, which kind of makes it even more incredible that they're not bringing the likes of a Celesi Rayasi into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we actually in a period of and across Super Rugby Aotearoa, are we in a period where basically outside backs are being underutilized and not used this season? It appears, the Crusaders, we'll go on to the Crusaders and Blues later, but also Hurricanes here. It's like a lot of the teams are finding it difficult to spread the ball and get their wingers involved. To me, I think it's for some reason I don't know what it is at the moment, but I think I think all the teams are struggling.
For some reason, and I mean, obviously the team we'll talk about later does it the most, is that they just automatically go wide, and we've when we sit in the West End from years ago, we've stopped saying it because we've just given up, is that you got to earn the right to go wide. And no team actually does it. They just automatically go wide after maybe, if you're lucky, a couple of forward rumbles up and then pass it out. And in fact, the worst, luckily for us, Steve, the worst is the ones, where the team that basically goes forward, and now the static ball and the forwards can't drive it forward. So then they give it out to the backs, which is the worst time to give it out to the backs, right? And it's just like, so realistically, it's just head-scratching game plans which are doing it, because you got to earn the right to go wide.
Yeah. And you need a bit of creativity as well to look for holes.
Yep.
That's the thing. We saw a couple of, there was and we'll get to the Crusaders because it was something that they did in one of their games, but we'll get to that. It can be done, but it's got to be done.
It can be done.
Bit of creativity.
So that's the Chiefs versus the Hurricanes, and moving on then to Australia. We've got back-to-back games over there because we had a Sunday game with that. I mean, I'll be honest. I was late getting back from the Chiefs games. I didn't get to see the Force Reds. I've been on doing one of highlights, but 4 yellow cards in this game, and some real questionable sort of big questions here. In the first half, 2 yellow cards for the Rebels. They're playing for half the half with a player down for the Force. Sorry. And yet they only trail 15-21 at half time to the Reds.
Actually, I was just going to say, half the half with 14 players, but actually it was pretty much the first 20-25 minutes with 14 players, because the 2 yellow cards were actually very early on in the game.
Well, no, obviously yellow card in 1 minute, as Kieran Driney did a tip tackle and should have been red carded, to be honest.
Yeah, yes, Steve. Yes, the dude's landed on his head and neck. They say, mitigating circumstances. He's used it, but he's put his arm for self-preservation, not because Kurandrani's taken care of him.
No, I think he does. He does land on the kind of shoulder bit, but he only lands there because of the arm. Otherwise, it would have been head and neck. So to me, yeah.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I probably agree to disagree on Kurandrani, but I'll tell you what, he, if you get a chance, he's actually put in what I'll basically call the absolute shot of the season, where he put Hunter Paisami into next week. It's just one heck of a tackle. Listen, he probably, for that minor misdiscretion, I think he might have paid in spades. And of course, Tony Pulu, I thought was a little stiff to have got his yellow card, so he probably took one for the team, because to me it looked like a perfectly good
Good turnover.
Perfectly good turnover, but obviously the referee was pretty much had enough of having conversations with the Western Force skipper.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Steve. Actually, you can see clearly he actually gets his feet back round the back of the ruck and before he goes on the ball. So I think he was a bit unlucky to get his marching orders.
So it's but you say it was repeat. It wasn't the force had upset the and with 16 penalties. Yeah, they were infringing quite a lot. So that was so quite how the Reds weren't leading more at half time. I mean, Cabelli sparked things and was had a good first half as well. In Tupou going through 5 tackles to score his try as well. And look
like the old days on St. Kitts and running down the wing. That's what it looked like.
That was impressive. Once he made that pass, nobody was going to get him.
Yeah,
he gone.
And that's the thing, but it's not just the fact that like he's a prop, so he's like he'll break a few tackles, but he breaks the few tackles, and it's like he's got backline pace, right? He's got backline pace. You weren't going to catch him 20 odd meters out.
No, I think one of the outside backs gave up actually.
Well, if I do catch him, what do I do?
How do I get arms around 2 tree trunks?
Well, he probably would have carried him over the line like a backpack.
But look, the Reds turn the ball over 10 times, 85 by the force. So look, I think it's one of those situations where the Reds got themselves in a situation, then turn the ball over. Line outs a bit ropey on both sides. On those ones as well, but
they really are a United Nations, aren't they? The Western Force with Cabelli at halfback, Miotti,
and now
first 5 from Italy. Sorry, no.
He's
Argentinian, man. Both of them Argentinians.
Oh, they both
the first 5 in the halfback Argentinians.
Argentinian, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
And Olafella, I think he's from England somewhere.
Yeah,
he just come in.
England 21s, yeah. Oh, wow.
And then obviously you've got Rob Kearney from Ireland at fullback.
Stander.
From South Africa, and then you've also got
Kahui
from New Zealand. Yes, exactly. Absolutely they are. But
there's a few Australians in there.
And yes, and Thrush as well. I mean, look, Thrush taking out the scrum half.
He said Thrush.
It was just dumb. So 3 yellow cards for the Force, and they still got the job done. Pataya took the player out in the air again. Lucky not to be a red, for my mind, at the beginning of the second half. If you're not going to get off the ground and you're going to run underneath where a ball's coming down, and you take out the player, you're in all sorts of trouble. So he was lucky not to get red as well. Olifella with his hat trick of tries. Has been a good start, and as someone's already said, 5 years and he'll be in the Wallabies.
Oh, well done, that man. Well done, that man.
Comedians are out in force tonight.
So not so Australia, not just raiding the Fiji, they're also raiding England now for players as well. I mean, geez.
So New Zealand, Fiji, and England.
So for there. So I mean, look, well done to the Force. None of us who expect them to get to the preliminary final this year, but they have done. They'll lose to the Brumbies next weekend. But fantastic.
But look, at the end of the day, Brumbies do go into that hot favours, but no, you've got to give the Force a starter's chance. They did well against the Brumbies previously as well. I think they tailed off towards the end of their games, but and we've always talked about is that they've got plenty of experience across the paddock. We've just named all these internationals that they've got. So if they've just knocked off the unbeaten team in Super Rugby Gold, so you've got to give them a starter's chance against the Brumbies, even though it's there. If they can get out of Perth.
it would be fair to
Well,
say the Reds who were ensconced, they already knew they were the top qualifier, and it was probably fair. It's fair to say that they were probably nowhere near their level that they have been
mentally.
in all season. But I'll tell you what, for me, the moment of the game was the Kurandrani shot on Hunter Paisami. It's an absolute beauty. If any of our followers are watching the show, get some YouTube footage of it. It's spectacular.
But it's not. I mean, Hunter Paisami had a good game running over Miotti. Miotti was a bit of a speed bump in this game defensively, but he did lead them around well when he's got ball in hand. Yeah, you're right there. Look, 3 days lockdown in Western Australia. So again, whilst the Reds got out of town quickly, the Force didn't, and so will they have been even able to train these last few days? I don't know. So I have to wait and see what happens next weekend. Can they get to Canberra for the game? Let's hope they can. Look,
I mean, you got to be, it's just like, I'm one of the people that did this. It's just like I watched that first 20 minutes, and when Dungunu went in for the third try, I thought that's game over, man. Because like the only try that the Force had scored was an intercept, which got reviewed, and could have easily gone. It was probably a 50-50 call, that review, but at the end of the day, so it was like, I'm bedtime now. So it was quite a shock to wake up and see that the Force, and the way that they won it, actually, they did really well, I thought. And when you look at that Reds team, just in terms of what Steve said, I think it was the Reds. It's not like they put on a second string side. So it was just a mental, obviously, approach to it. Would have been, we're in the final. So, but effectively, it was still their top lineup, effectively. Yeah, but also, you say they had the game won. So did they switch off after 20 minutes as well to a certain degree? Because it was a bit too easy up to that point.
We should give the Reds, the Force, a lot of credit. I'm going to eat a bit of humble pie in and around these guys. I thought they'd
with ice cream,
salad with ice cream, with salad dwellers, with our friends from the Waratahs. But boy, you kind of look at their season and how it's played out to make. I don't think to make the finals was expected. So good on them.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, they've done very well. So after that, we had the Waratahs versus the Rebels. The Waratahs looking for their first win of the season, and he didn't start too well as the Rebels got a cross-field kick in the first minute to take the lead, 7-0. And you're thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a long night for them, for the Waratahs. Only on 20 minutes to lose Nasarani for a high tackle for a red card. Now, under the new rules, of course, he was off for 20 minutes, and they got to replace him at half time. But again, the Waratahs did not take advantage of that with the Rebels scoring a try in that time.
Paul, that red card's an interesting one to me because he obviously got pulled up on the shoulder to head, and then there's a scuffle breaks out, and he throws a punch as well, which pretty much cemented
2 yellows in it, one action.
Cemented the card. Should that be worth 2 red cards?
2 reds.
It should be worth 2 reds.
Yeah. Hey, the other thing is that with yellows and red cards, to me, really the impacts at set play. That's when you're short. But once it goes away from set play and you've if you haven't taken advantage or got across that advantage line by some margin, the extra person doesn't actually count for much because the way that defenses are and they're spread across the field, you don't really miss that one man. It's only at set piece time that you miss that one man.
It is made set piece, right? And the other piece you have to do is you need some. If you just go through your processes against 14 men, you're not going to find that space.
No,
you need someone who's got the heads up who can go right. Are they dropping one man? Are they dropping one man back rather than 2? If so, he's kicking into that space. If they're not putting 2 men back, is that because they're missing someone off the blind, or they're missing someone, or is the winger come in? Where is that? Where's that space?
Where is that missing man?
Yep. So, and I don't think teams have got a setup to do that at the moment.
I think most teams, if not all, and this includes the likes of a successful Crusaders type and the Chiefs and the way that they're playing, they still look at it's yellow card. We must keep the ball in hand to take advantage of it.
Yes.
And that's, mentally, that's what they're thinking, is that we will score by keeping the ball in hand. But if the defense is set, you won't break them. Doesn't matter how many phases you're in. In fact, the more phases you go, and as long as the ball's slow enough, you just won't break that line unless it's an individual one piece of brilliance.
Yeah, and especially if they decide, actually, you know what, because we know they won't kick to us, where are we going to leave the space? We're going to leave the space in the backfield. We won't have two players back for the kick. We'll have one, and hope he reads it better. To me also, I think, look, we've had 4 yellows in the previous game, of which 2 of them could have been red. We've had 2 reds in this game, plus a yellow. To me, I'm not up for this 20-minute red card and replace the player. I don't think it's I don't think it's a big enough deterrent. I don't think we're seeing players change the behaviour. Is my really.
If we're still having these same conversations in 3, 4, 5 years' time, we'll probably be the only guys watching these games, because the spectators out there will just have a gutful, because there's no clarity. I just like the idea of putting these guys on report, then basically deal with sanctions, and basically throw in a fine as well. Hit them in the pocket where it really, really hurts. That'll stop them from doing it.
I will going to disagree. I think they need to go off and stay off, and the team actually get hurt. I don't think being off for 20 minutes is enough pain for the team. But
I mean,
hey,
it's an interesting. I'm getting a sore bum because I'm sitting on the fence with this, because Paul's right as well, because I mean, like, you look at a Hodgman last week, and it's just like, that's just ridiculous.
Oh.
I mean, what was he trying to achieve with what he did, right? And it's just like, and it's just, I don't know, and it's just thinking, it's just like, you go off and it really does hurt your team. But then if you have too many, the reason why this has come about is because the refs are supposed to be stronger on the safety of players, and therefore we should be seeing more red card opportunities, for want of a term. But then now they're going gun shy on handing out red cards as well. So you're noticing that. That's pretty obvious. I think, as you say, that Kurandrani one was clear cut for me. That was a red card. They're going gun shy on giving out red cards. So it's a mess. That's all I'm going to say. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
Yep. No. Okay. We can all agree it's a mess. Look, the Rebels kept themselves in front, even with that red card. We then had a shoulder to the chin on 76 minutes for a red card, which, let's be honest, being at 76 minutes, doesn't matter if it's red, yellow, purple, or green. He's off the rest of the game anyway, or blue.
Wasn't there a blue card introduced some time ago?
There is. There is in club rugby, yes. But again, that was just a blatant red card. What's he doing tackling that high? You're only going to catch the head. So to that one anyway. So well done to the Rebels. They got the win, but it was all for naught because the Force already got the preliminary final. Next up for them, Trans-Tasman, which I think they're going to find to be fun. If they start losing players in those sort of games, then we could see some pretty big scores, I think, from these against these Waratahs and Rebels sort of teams. So on to today then. Now we've already had a request.
Is there a game today?
There was a game today. We've had a request to say,
right.
Please don't talk about the Blues. Just talk about how good the Crusaders were. In this one,
the Crusaders were awesome.
I don't actually agree with you, Steve. Because
I'm being facetious.
Oh, you are being facetious, because I actually think let's talk about the Crusaders, because they're in the final. But we've been talking about how the performances against the Hurricanes, they probably should have lost that game against the Hurricanes. They're really lucky to get out of that one. Obviously, they lost to the Chiefs. The Blues are the team that go around put any team that's out of form into form, because that's what we do. We're just that nice. We listen to our Prime Minister and go, be kind. And that's what we do. So we be kind. But when you look at that performance by the Crusaders today, there's nothing to suggest to me that they've turned a massive corner and got their train back on the tracks.
No, look, I mean, one of the big pieces of conversation heading into this game was the fact that the Crusaders are short of 7, right? And they got turned over at ruck time a lot with both Papialihi and I've gone blank. That's the
Gibson.
other player, Gibson. Yeah, Gibson.
Gibson.
Playing well in that first half at the breakdown. Now, it's about the only good thing the Blues did in that first half, but the Crusaders were struggling at ruck time against other teams. That's going to hurt them a lot more than in this game.
Yep. And that's where we come back to now. We started bringing to the Chiefs into the equation. And one thing that the Blues did do is that their scrum basically dominated the Crusaders scrum, particularly in the first half anyway, until the subs came, until there were some substitutions. And then obviously with a bit of depth issues on the Blues bench, with, I'm going to get his name wrong, Vakina at hooker, and then obviously Renata coming on and instead of someone like a Hodgman that would have come on. And also in the second row, you got Tane Plumtree coming on, who's, debatable whether he's a lock or a 6. So the scrum was hugely depowered in that last sort of 20, 15 minutes. But I think the Crusaders have got issues at scrum times. The Chiefs scrum is something that is growing in strength. And so I think, and that's something that's going to be massive for the Chiefs when they go down there.
And I think they'll have Luke Jacobson back as well at 8, which is a good leadership thing for them.
Steve, you disagree? You didn't look like you're agreeing with me there. Yeah.
Won't even be close, guys.
You reckon they'll roll over the Chiefs? Easy.
I think they'll roll the Chiefs. I really do.
Do join us for the Super Rugby final preview show.
Definitely, and nothing's changed. Yeah, sure, they haven't been anywhere near their best that they could have, would have, should have. But listen, they've had some injuries, and they probably haven't been quite as accurate as they could be. But they'll go away. They'll have a week off, and they'll be amped for this. To be honest, you're
but
right.
They've been searching.
They weren't very good today, but they were still at the end of the day, still a good 23 points.
I think it's quite easy. I'll say this quite simply, and it's quite easy to say. The Blues are the worst attacking team in the Super Rugby, New Zealand Aotearoa Super Rugby. We are simply the worst attacking side with absolutely clueless. If they actually had a clue on an attack with the amount of ball and actually defensively, even though they let in the Will Jordan try and the Sevu Reece try, I'll add that as well. Poor defensive efforts in those two tries. The reality is defensively, they were actually sort of muscling up quite well and nullifying some of the Crusaders' attack. It's just that when they've got the ball, they're just inept. And then the frustration, like what you said in the chat, in our chat during the game, that the frustration builds, and then things fall over.
One thing I will say, the Chiefs, if they made as many breaks as the Blues did this afternoon, you could basically guarantee that they would have got support players to the breakdowns.
Yep.
I mean to say, I was alarmed where I saw 3 or 4 breaks, just where they just didn't get support players there quick enough to the breakdowns.
I don't, we do say that, but remember the Chiefs are leading this competition on clean breaks, and they're last in the competition on tries or something like that. So they aren't able to finish their clean breaks off either. But you're right. We saw some great breaks, and you're thinking, where's the support player?
But it's the same as last week. It happened last week as well.
And Papialihi's. Oh yeah, no, I don't think we saw it. I don't think we learned anything new today about the Blues that we haven't seen in the last couple of weeks, right? So if you keep saying, you everything I say, you can say it happened last week. Yes.
Yeah. It happened last week. It happened last week. You have to mute me again.
We'll have to meet you. But I mean, Papiali'i, again, running on a broken knee, and he's the first person there in support. You're like, the guy's legs hanging off, and no one else is there. Come on, guys.
And that's the other thing that highlights it, is the fact is that when you look at the way that even the Hurricanes play, so Hurricanes, Highlanders, Chiefs, Crusaders, is the fact is that there is actually 5% more effort from their players than there is from the Blues team. You know, even in the simple stuff, like you give it to a non-Blues playing team, you give them the ball, and all they do is they take the ball and run hard at the line. The Blues player actually stands there and then decides to run hard at the team and run hard at a tackler rather than the gap as well. Basic things like that. Actually, I would put it down to 5%. They're putting in that greater effort. The other teams are.
I'm not sure it's greater effort. I think it's just. I think there's
smarter effort.
Yeah, I think there's no bit of smarter effort here, and that's one of the things we heard from our friend Rennie Ranger about just the level of detail that the Crusaders go into. Now, to me, again, I mean, David Habili had a good game at inside centre and did show some good distribution skills, but Fanuku. Love him as a player, as a winger, but not as a 13. He got the ball 10 times, so 8 runs and 2 passes. What's the point in having somebody outside of him?
Yeah, well, he's just there because Jack Goodhugh's injured and Braden Ennell's injured.
Absolutely, I understand he's there. That's not there. It's an injury replacement.
He's filling a gap. You could arguably go for Dallas McLeod and Havili, but they're kind of like the same sort of players.
I'm sorry, I'd go to Lester Whainuku every day of the week and twice on Sunday, as you'd say, Steve. It's just like that's chalk and cheese. Absolute chalk and cheese, eh?
I'm not disagreeing. I personally think he's done quite an adequate job.
Absolutely. He's doing a better job than Rico. He actually looks to the outside and looks to pass.
Rico passed the ball 8 times. Lester Whainuku passed the ball twice. So
but it's the fact is that's the when you pass, right? That's the key. It's when you pass. It's just like,
ironically, one of the best opportunities I actually saw where the ball was actually moved and a really good pass was actually from Hoskins Satutu, which sent Caleb Clark, I think it was, away down on that left hand side, and that was just a really good shift from Hoskins Satutu at the time. So it's just those little skills that detail that they have to go back to. As you said, Paul, Rennie Ranger spoke about the detail. That's what the Crusaders may not be at their best, but boy, when they're given opportunities and must-win games, boy, they nailed you, and they will know their best.
So I reckon, like, we saw some actual before the massive subs came on. We saw a period where the Blues were actually playing a bit of hot potato and a lot of offloading and that. That's what they should be practicing ad nauseum, so that in game time it is just well versed and well practiced. They have got a big team. We know this. This probably the biggest team out there. They've got ball runners. They've got ball players. They need to get better at basically doing the little miracle offloads. And for professional players, we don't see it enough from them.
Yeah, also, especially in that second half, I mean, clearly they were getting desperate, having hardly scored, but playing out your own 22 was suicidal at times by this Blues team. They needed to play in the right areas of the pitch. Well, when you've got Plummer, Black, and Perifetter on, it's not like you haven't got
kicking options.
You've got plenty of kicking options, so you should be able to pass it wide, to draw up back defenders, to then kick deep, and all this kind of stuff. So you've got plenty of kicking options. You should be able to play a good territory game. And didn't. So why are you playing out your 22?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, couple of moments there. Also, I mean, Caleb Clark. I mean, I don't think he misses out on a black jersey if we do end up playing anybody this year, but he's severely lacking in form. He had multiple opportunities today where he could have taken on Sevu Reece on the outside and didn't take those opportunities. And then with the last few minutes of the game, or might have been 5 minutes of the game, he had the St. Kitts prop to try and beat around the outside, and he cut back inside. That was like, wow, you got the St. Kitts prop to beat, and you take the ball inside with 5 meter line, 5 meters on the outside there to have a go, and it's just like you're lacking confidence. Yep, I agree. I know what he's saying in terms of second season, everybody marking up on him big time. But hey, look, the big players, when they get those little opportunities, they take them, and that's the thing. Yep, you're getting marked up big time, but when you get those opportunities, you've got to give it a go and execute and convert it.
Absolutely. So Dominic Cooper says, how to fix the Blues, get rid of Leon McDonald, make Clayton McMillan the coach, get a new backs coach and a new kicking coach.
No, look, I don't think. I think Leon McDonald actually has done a good job. There are question marks. There's a few question marks for me. There's the fact is that why the hell do you bring in players like Narewa and Kipkins, players like that, Zahn Sullivan, and it's like you don't give them a shot. You haven't given them a shot. They are the steppers. They're the ones that they're the creators. They're the Will Jordans of the Blues squad, and you're not giving them an opportunity. It's like, I'm sorry, and then you're playing Plummer at 12. I'm sorry, I don't know, because Combs has died out of the Blues. Is TJ Faiani injured? Because TJ Faiani came in after, and has made a difference. And then he disappeared. Is he injured? I don't know. But it's like, because if he isn't, that's just like mind blowing, I'm afraid. The guy's a communicator. It's obvious he's a communicator and helped get that backline somewhat functioning. And he's got a better game than Plummer at 12. Well, he has got a better game than Plummer at 12. You can't disagree with that, Steve.
So, hey, look, I have issues with the Blues back office. So let's be honest. I was one of two media people at the Chiefs women's media event this morning. And the Blues, I've asked the Blues if I can have a media pass for the women's game next week, as clearly one of the few people who actually gives a damn. And I've just had radio silence. I've not even had a reply to my email. Yep. So, yep. So sorry, folks. I'm not expecting to be able to get to that game because, as I say, they won't give me a media pass.
Yep. So. No, it's and then I think Paul's alluded to it earlier. I don't know. Hey, Paul, you're back in the city, or you're still down in the village of the Dam? But Paul's expecting the Crusaders to get a card. It's just like, mate, you're dreaming. The Crusaders don't get cards. Simple as that.
Obviously there was the neck roll he mentioned. There was also the
hit on Talia.
The hit on Talia as well.
And then the strange situation on Talia, which we have to talk about as well, is that the doctors ruled him out without an HIA. Now that is an absolute bizarre situation. He got ruled out. It's on stuff as well, so I've had a read of it. So it's like he was ruled out because the doctor said he spent too much time on the ground. Quite clearly from the footage, you can see he got smacked in the ribs and the dude was winded, and it does take a while to get the ears back in the lungs. So and he was basically ruled out of the game without an actual HIA test, which was just absolutely diabolical.
Actually, the one that rankled with me the most was probably the one where Cody Taylor just basically retreated through the middle of the ruck on the 22.
Cynical.
And stopped. That was cynical. If that had happened 5 meters from the line, it's probably a card every day of the week. But even if it happened on the 22 yard, he should have been carded. End of story.
Yep, absolutely. There should have been carded. Look, I mean, you go back. There's lots of it. We talk about the Bryn Gatlin, the luck of the ball, luck of the calls, bounce of the ball. Right in the first moments of the game, when the Crusaders have scored, the Blues are hot on the attacking on the line, and then there's a turnover. Well, the turnover happened because the Crusaders players preceding that player coming in for the turnover have collapsed on the Blues side, so the Blues players can't get to the ball. So it's just like that was so clear, and quite conveniently, the directors don't bring up a replay of that either. So look, I mean, the writing was on the wall. You need everything going your way when you're playing down there. And look, I mean, as much as I'm giving the Chiefs more than a starter's chance down there in Christchurch, you need to get your calls going your way down there.
I can't. The Blues did not lose this game because calls went against them.
Hang on. The one we just talked about, and you nodded your head in agreement with, was if they get that ball on the line and they get that out and they're able to score, it's 7-all. Different, we know what Mex says about this ebb and flow of psychic energy. There is that element, and you can't dismiss it. You cannot dismiss that. You need it. You need that mojo lift, and that's what the Blues didn't get. And you get that one crack, you break the line, and it helps that momentum build.
They go wrong. I think the calls today helped the margin of the victory, but yes. I still can't see the Blues actually losing this game because of those calls. I think they would have lost anyway, even with calls going their way.
Oh, look, I'm not disagreeing with you, Paul. What I'm saying is that to give yourself a chance, those calls have to, you when you're getting wrong calls against you, and this is like, as Paul says, in terms of those cards, you're not going to, Crusaders ain't going to get cards.
The Blues at the end there, the Blues were down to 14 again because of because of injuries. Now again, another one. Why do you empty your bench and have nobody available at all to come on? So
it's happened before. It'll happen again. I mean, the reality is that I think it was was it 5 minutes to go, or was it a bit more than that? I thought it was about 5 to go.
About 5 to go, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, with 5 to go, yeah, it's sort of something that can happen.
Yeah. So that was the So we're having some Warriors or league updates in the live chat. So thank you for that, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron. I don't need those.
So Crusaders, Chiefs, Crusaders. Now, Simon was saying that he thinks that the Crusaders having a week off is bad for them. I think it's good for them. I think it means they get to do 2 weeks of proper analysis of the Chiefs and to train for that, specifically for that game, and heal her body. So no, I think it's perfect for them. Some teams do struggle or do look a bit rusty after a bye week. I don't see that being a problem.
Not in this situation. Yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it, from a regular season bye to effectively what's a bye? Because let's say it's like in the semi-finals type situation where you've come top of the table and you're having a week off type scenario.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm assuming that Tupai is out for the season, so he's not a chance of in 2 weeks' time. Yeah.
No, Quince Pye did the same thing as Aotearoa, so he was 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
So he might be back for the end of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman, for example. But he's definitely out of the final. Yep. Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. Any final points?
I suppose listen. Just want to touch on a couple of guys for the Blues. Dalton Papali, I thought he's probably been close to the Blues' best player all season. Just a shame they haven't had 14 more like him. And listen, I've got a bit of time for young Sam Derry. He's progressing really, really well at the moment. Shouldn't forget, this kid's only 20 years old. And that's one we got. That's one we got out of Christchurch. So absolutely wrapped about that.
Yeah, I've just been saying to a few guys this the last few days actually, is the fact is that I think he's gonna and we saw it a little bit today, is that he got beaten up around the rucks a little bit today, but he's only 20. He'll put another 10 kilos on in the next year or so, and that'll be a different story.
Absolutely.
I think look, so with Derry, Va'ai, Arkoi coming through, there's an area that I thought that was going to be a problem area for New Zealand was going to be locks, but it's good to see that there is a group of young locks coming through.
One area of Derry is another area of Derry's that, and he'll work. He'll see it himself and he'll work on it. Is the fact is that he's actually getting to rucks very quickly, and there was a couple of times where he could have got turnovers because he was there so quick, but he doesn't quite have that technique down to get onto the ball. And it was really obvious because he was just like the first guy there, or the first guy on his feet anyway there, and he just wasn't able to convert the turnover. But that's the thing. I reckon he'll see that and he'll work on that part of the game, and that'll be a string to his bow that he'll bring along.
Cool. So thank you, everybody. And do join us on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. for the Driving More Show, where we'll talk about all the fun things in rugby worldwide. We've got some rumours about what the Lions tour is going to look like. So that'll be an interesting chat.
Rugby games.
Well, yes, but not in the definitely not. They're not going to be touring in the way that was initially suggested. So we'll have a chat about that, plus all the other hot topics. So do join us on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. for the Driving More Show.